In a world that has turned your mind into a marketplace, your attention is the most expensive currency. Every sound, every screen, every flicker of motion, each one competes for the same sacred thing, your awareness. And maybe you felt it, the exhaustion that comes not from work, but from fragmentation, from giving small pieces of your life to things that never gave you anything back. Here's the promise. If you can reclaim your attention, you can reclaim yourself, because what you give your attention to becomes what you worship, and what you worship, you become. We like to think of attention as something small, a tool for focusing, for working, for doing. But the mystics saw it differently. To them, attention was not a mental act, it was an act of love, a sacred gesture. To attend to something meant to bless it with the light of consciousness, to see it so clearly that it begins to reveal its essence to you. Every moment, your attention is a quiet prayer. This matters. This is real. This is what I choose to keep alive. But in our age, attention has been cheapened. We've turned the holy act of noticing into a reflex. We scroll, we skim, we swipe, never long enough to truly see anything. The philosopher Simone Weil once said, "Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity." Because real attention costs you something. It costs you your presence, and in giving it, you give away a piece of your soul. That's why the mystics called it devotion. To truly attend to something, to a person, a task, a moment, is to pour your life into it. Look around you. Everything is designed to scatter your devotion. Every app, every advertisement, every algorithm tuned to whisper, "Look here." They are not selling you products. They are renting your consciousness, one notification at a time. But here's the spiritual twist. What you attend to begins to shape you. If you constantly feed on chaos, you become chaotic. If you fixate on what's superficial, your inner life thins out. But if you turn your attention toward the eternal, the still, the luminous, you begin to resemble that. Attention is alchemy. It transforms both the observed and the observer. We've forgotten this because attention feels invisible, like air, like background noise. But look closer. It's the quiet architect behind everything you call life. Where attention goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, reality crystallizes. When you stop giving attention to gossip, it dissolves. When you stop feeding resentment with thought, it loses power. When you stop reacting to distractions, they stop existing for you. The world rearranges itself around the quality of your attention. The mystics practiced this as a way of life. They didn't call it mindfulness. They called it remembrance, the constant act of returning to what is real again and again. Every moment of attention was a moment of communion with the divine, whether in washing a dish, or watching a sunset, or holding someone's gaze without agenda. They believed that God is not hidden. It's simply that we rarely look long enough to see. But there's a paradox here. You can't truly control your attention through willpower alone. Try to force your mind to focus, and it slips away like water through fingers. Attention doesn't respond to effort. It responds to love. You naturally attend to what you love. You look, not because you must, but because something in you feels drawn toward it. So if your attention is constantly scattered, maybe it's not discipline you lack, maybe it's devotion. Ask yourself, what do you revere without realizing it? What do you offer your sacred attention to, hour after hour, day after day? Your phone, your worries, your resentment. These are modern idols. We kneel to them without ever bowing. Each tap, each scroll, each fixation is an unconscious act of worship. And if you wonder why life feels hollow, consider that maybe you've been praying to the wrong gods. Reclaiming your attention isn't just about focus. It's about realigning your inner altar. It's about remembering what is worthy of your worship. Imagine, for a moment, that your attention is a beam of light. When scattered, it barely warms anything. But when concentrated, it can burn through illusion. That is what the saints, sages, and philosophers have always taught in different languages. Attention, gathered and offered, becomes illumination. We live in an age where everything external demands our devotion, but the soul quietly waits for it. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you never give it your gaze, it starts to fade like an unwatered plant. This is why so many feel anxious, unanchored, spiritually adrift. We think the cure is to chase more stimulation, but what we need is sanctified boredom, the silence that lets the sacred speak. Because beneath all the noise, there's a still point, a presence, watching everything unfold, and the more you attend to it, the more real it becomes. Every spiritual tradition points back to this same truth. In Buddhism, the practice of right attention. In Christianity, be still and know. In Sufism, zikr, the remembrance of God in every breath. In Stoicism, prosoche, attentiveness to the moment. They all describe the same doorway, the reclaiming of awareness from distraction. Because distraction isn't just a bad habit, it's a spiritual condition. It splits you from the present, from truth, from yourself. So what happens when you start spending attention like it's sacred currency? When you stop giving it to everything that screams and start giving it to what whispers? Suddenly, ordinary things begin to glow again. The cup of tea, the sound of rain, the breath that you had ignored all day. You begin to see again, and seeing is the beginning of reverence. Because the divine doesn't demand belief, it demands awareness. And the one who truly pays attention starts to find meaning in everything. Attention, then, is the bridge between the finite and the infinite. It's how the eternal enters time through you. Every time you give attention to truth, beauty, or kindness, you create a small opening for the sacred to breathe through you. That's what devotion really means. Not worshipping something out there, but sanctifying what's right here. The moment, the breath, the person before you. And in this quiet exchange, something extraordinary happens. You stop seeking meaning and start seeing meaning. But be warned, what you attend to will define you. If you feed the dark, you will mirror it. If you feed the light, you will reflect it. That's why the discipline of attention is also the discipline of love. When you focus on what's noble, what's true, what's alive, you align yourself with a greater intelligence. When you waste it on noise and vanity, you drift further from that center. The question isn't, do you pay attention? The question is, to whom or to what are you devoted? The world wants to turn your attention into a commodity. The soul wants to turn it into communion. One drains you, the other restores you. And the difference is not small. It's the difference between being consumed and being conscious. So learn to spend your attention as if your life depends on it, because it does. Everything you'll ever experience depends on where you place that inner gaze. Reclaiming attention doesn't require exile or silence or deleting every app. It begins with remembering that this moment is alive and that awareness itself is sacred. When you walk, walk. When you eat, taste. When you listen, really listen. And when you love, be there fully. Every act of true attention is an act of devotion, a way of saying to the universe, I am here. And maybe that's the only prayer we ever need. So before you scroll to the next thing, pause. Ask yourself, where is my attention right now? What altar am I standing before? Because whatever holds your attention holds your life. Spend it wisely, not on noise, not on fear, but on what reminds you that you were never separate from the sacred to begin with. Attention is devotion. And the moment you remember that, you begin to live, not as a consumer of reality, but as a witness of the divine.